Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, beautiful people. Happy episode 2 Palindrome Day. 42424. If you read the date backwards, 42424. So I like palindromes, so I had to point it out. Can't help myself. Welcome back to the Your Neck of the Woods podcast, brought to you by the gentleman scholar, producer extraordinaire, Gabe, and hosted by yours truly, James DeFazio. And you know what? Let's get right into it. Why waste any time? Looking over the Doppler radar right now, I actually looked at the Doppler radar returns from overnight last night. It appears yet again that we received plenty of widespread rainfall. This was truly a steady soaking rain. It was nothing heavy, nothing downpour. We got about 2/10 to a quarter of an inch, depending on your location. Um, we cannot really we can't really complain too much. Yesterday was what a day. Tuesday was absurdly nice. My gosh, was it a beauty. Um, we had abundant sun, and let's discuss some of the local high temperatures that were met yesterday afternoon. Um, Side note, I did take a peek at the Sequoia Creek cameras and some of our other local waterways. Um, the water levels are not that elevated, so it is pretty obvious yet again, confirmation that it was not no steadier downpours. It was a light soaking rain overnight. Another reminder about this podcast, before I start throwing numbers at you, there's no schedule. There will be no schedule. We will record as needed, when able, as able, when things are warranted, when interesting things occur, and when weather is worthwhile to be discussed in detail for Central New York. So be on the lookout. I will post updates for when to expect podcast episodes to be released. Um, yeah, let's keep going. Some numbers. Rome reached KRME, which is the official measuring location for Oneida County, which is at the Griffiths Air Force Base. Measured a high of 64 degrees yesterday and a low of just 50 last night. Um, Unusually, the warmest temperatures occurred yesterday the farther north that you went across New York State, which is atypical. Um, Syracuse was the lone exception. It happens all the time because Syracuse gets a little bit warmer than all of the areas around here, solely because of it having more concrete and it having a concrete heat island effect. Um, I don't really want going to get into the description of how to. I'll do a very brief description of a concrete heat island. There's more concrete, more blacktop. It absorbs more sun. It makes the air just above the concrete slightly warmer. That's the very simple, quick explanation. They also measure near the airport, where yet again a lot of concrete. So hearing that the high yesterday in Syracuse was 70 doesn't shock. Here's where temperatures range, though. In the New York City region yesterday, highs were only 55 to 60 degrees. So go CNY. Um, Across the Binghamton region, temperatures were 64 to 66. The Seneca Niagara Buffalo region, 63 to 65. Um, Northern New York, higher elevation, 64 to 67. The Mohawk Valley, right around 69 degrees. Nice. Um, Finger Lakes, 67 to 69, tad cooler than the Mohawk Valley. Northern New York, warm, 64 to 67, even in the areas that we think of as, oh, it's going to be 5-10 degrees warmer than you, or 5-10 degrees cooler than um our 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 locale when we drive up north to camp or to fish or to explore, whatever, hike. But if you go to extreme northern New York, the counties adjacent to Canada, highs yesterday ranged from 66 to 69 degrees. So warmest spot in New York State outside of Syracuse was right up near the Canadian border yesterday. Thought that was interesting because it doesn't happen very often. Yet again, it was windy last night. The wind this year. That is just seems to be the story of 2024 so far. Looking at the recorded gusts across the area, they were it was gusty across the state, and all night long. There were widespread 20 to 30 mile per hour gusts measured basically everywhere from the Pennsylvania, New York border north. Um, 20 to 30 mile an hour gusts aren't anything that's going to do anything damaging, but it's definitely inconvenience. If you're got a garbage can out there that's empty and unsecured, it's probably going to blow around. With a gust with gusts like that, it's probably, if you're a light sleeper, something you'll hear as you're falling asleep. So worth mentioning. But just another blustery event. Before I dive into today's and upcoming days weather, I want to discuss a special weather statement that we were under yesterday. Um, so first, what is a special weather statement? Special weather statement is basically something that the National Weather Service issues for the public to be made aware of, that is not meeting warning or watch criteria. So it's something important, um, more important than an outlook, a hazardous weather outlook. But it's nothing that is considered a imminent warning, imminent take action. Um, it's kind of an in between. You'll occasionally see special weather statements that refer to all types of weather. One of the most common is thunderstorms. Um, a strong but not severe thunderstorm, or thunderstorm worthy of a severe thunderstorm warning, but worthy of letting the public know, hey, watch out. A lot of times they'll issue a special weather statement instead of a warning. With that being said, you might be thinking, why? Why were we under a special weather event or a special weather statement? It was because of fire weather concerns. And you're probably thinking, how is that possible? All it's done is rain, the ground is mud, the ground is wet. Um, and that is because there were a particular set of weather conditions yesterday that allowed for these concerns to be met. Um, it was issued for all of New York State and all of Pennsylvania and several other states on the East Coast yesterday for these conditions, because of these conditions. It was a perfect storm, a perfect mix. There was no one sole thing. I would like to, if you don't mind, I would like to read the special weather statement, give you an idea of what they sound like when they're released from the National Weather Service. This one's particular from the National Weather Service in Binghamton. Also, I find it informative, very informative. So yesterday they put out a warning saying that the fire weather was in place and that there was a high risk of wildfire if a fire were to start. Now I'm going to quote the special weather statement. Dry conditions with gusty winds are expected across the region today. Minimum relative humidity values will drop as low as 20% in some areas, with south to southwest wind gusts of 20 to 30 during the afternoon. Although this spring has been wet, fine fuels such as dead grass and leaf litter will quickly dry out in these conditions. If any fires were to start, the windy and dry weather will increase the risk of wildfire spread, making it difficult to contain. Basically, uh, don't be an idiot day. Keep an eye out day. Be careful day. Um, Relative humidity is not the best measure of how wet or how dry something is. However, it is very useful in determining certain specifics about the air mass and about fire weather. Um, when we get into hot and humid season, and we're talking humidity, we're going to be using dew point, not relative humidity percentages. Dew point is a much better reflection of how humid or how wet or how dry the air really is out there. So why were we under a special weather statement? Really, three reasons. The leftover debris and soil conditions that would have made good fuel for a fire as they dried out yesterday. And verify, I did mow my lawn, and there was some dry leaves off to the side that had blown up and accumulated over the winter. I was like, yeah, at first I was like leaf litter. I thought they picked them, they picked the most of them up. Nah, it's still out there. They're still out there. Um, the wind for two reasons: spread pushes it, spreads the fire faster. Two, you need oxygen for a fire. The wind fuels the oxygen, fuels the fire. And third, the air was extremely dry. The drier the air, the more likely that a fire is going to start. So, very interesting. Another thing to throw out there, if you are thinking about having a campfire on some of these nice upcoming days with good weather, the New York State law has a burn ban in effect until May 14th. Um, that is yearly in effect. That happens every year. You can't be ticketed for it. I've never seen it enforced. Um, you start a fire, you start a forest fire. I'm sure they'd enforce it. Luckily, I work at the lodge where we do a campfire each night, and the lodge just happens to land on sovereign land. And we can do a very controlled campfire each night. So I'm not going to tell you you can't burn. Just burn careful, and and be aware that you're not supposed to be if you are going to. We can on sovereign land because we're our own nation. With spring finally arriving yesterday, um, expect bird migration to absolutely drastically increase this week. Hummingbirds are starting to be seen locally. They finally are getting back into the area. But if you look at the number of birds, the number of species of birds, um, they're vastly creeping up to our doorstep, and anticipate that increasing each morning. It'll be a little bit louder and a little bit louder and a little bit louder around sunset, and you'll have your natural alarm if you sleep with your windows open and you're attentive to your bird chirping. If you got bird feeders, it's probably a good time to get them ready. It's they're going to be here this week. As expected and discussed last week, plants of all kind really took off. Um, they're growing already at a very steady pace. I'm going to make a prediction and say that we have leaves in the lower elevations, especially here in Utica by May 1st. Um, Flowers are absolutely booming. We've had ideal flower weather, and it's really only going to continue. While it did get as cold as we predicted the other night, we received another hard freeze. It's going to be even colder tonight. Um, More on that to come. Please wait to plant your garden for my sake, your sake, plant sake. um, I'm itching to get it in there too, but it's just not time yet. We're not there yet. I would say 3 more weeks, and then we can start really looking into what the weather looks like a week out or 2 weeks out, and then we might be able to make moves. Again, I'll keep you updated on planting. Um, so for 42424, um, scattered showers are lingering today, especially across Lewis County right now and northern Herkimer County. They are sliding to the south and east. Scattered showers region wide are going to be around really through the mid afternoon. We should get one big more wave of steadier rain across the area, one more widespread but brief um, shower as the final edge of the cold, very strong cold front that is moving through, kicks through. Um, and that frontal passage is expected to be occurring as I am recording this, around the 11:30 to noonish time frame. Behind that, things are going to eventually slowly dry out. By 5 p.m., we're looking at dry skies. Depending on how quickly we dry out, cloud cover will also decrease as soon as the precipitation stops, because high pressure is going to be building in behind. However, I don't know if we'll get it quickly enough to get partly cloudy sky and a decent sunset. So sunsets have been unbelievable lately, and the sunrises. We might miss out on one tonight. It may stay cloudy. But the big story for today is the temperature. Um, High temperature today already occurred. It was 50 degrees, and it was at the crack of dawn um, this morning, because this strong cold front is so strong that it will drop temperatures all day long throughout the day steadily, and all the way until tomorrow morning, where we start to rebound. Um, like I said, the high was 50. We're currently in the upper 40s. We're only going in one direction. Here's of the um, some timing of temperatures for city of Utica. Keep in mind, if you live in a rural location, it is going to be 2 to 5 degrees colder. If you're in the Adirondacks, 5 to 10 degrees colder than these numbers that I'm throwing out. We're expecting the temperature to drop to 42 by 6 o'clock in Utica, 32 degrees, so freezing, icy possibly by midnight. And the low tonight is expected to be 26 degrees and occur around 5 a.m. Thursday morning. Again, rural areas expect that number to be even cooler. I will guarantee you we see teens across the Adirondacks tonight. It takes a while to warm up Thursday, but it does eventually. It's still going to be 34 degrees at 9 a.m., 46 by noon, 53 by 5 p.m. So not warm day, but warmer, better, and sunny. It's sunny. Going to be aesthetically pleasing at the very least. It clears yet again Thursday night, and it does get cold again Thursday night, but not quite as cold as tonight. We're looking at upper 20s, widespread yet again Thursday night. So another cold night, another reason not to plant. Friday, and more importantly, we are warming way quicker. Um, and we're getting warmer overall. It's going to be a warm day. Temperatures are going to eventually reach the low 60s on Friday, and there's going to be ample sunshine. It is going to be a beautiful day. It's going to be one of those days that, it being Friday, and if you work a Monday to Friday job, you are going to be itching to leave work early. It's going to be a beaut. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be relatively similar to yesterday, maybe 2 to 3 degrees cooler, but very similar to yesterday. Um, Friday night, clouds start to creep in, and it's a much warmer night than the next two, than Wednesday and Thursday. Temperatures will stay above freezing. We're looking at mid to upper 30s, um, which is good. Which is good. It's time to get this, start warming up the soil. Weather then by Saturday starts to become unsettled. Saturday morning starts out partly cloudy. By midday, we're cloudy. By the evening, showers are likely. Um, Saturday and Sunday, an area of low pressure is going to approach, and it appears likely that we're going to have showers both of those days. But it's going to be warm. It's going to be in the 70s Sunday. Maybe mid 70s. We're gonna keep an eye on that. It's something I got to continue to monitor as this low pressure system comes across the country and continues to form. So that is going to be the focus of episode 3. We are gonna hope that this data becomes more uniform for myself, and I will have a weekend forecast update for you guys either Friday night or Saturday morning, with an update of what to expect for your weekend. Um, until next time, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Stay beautiful. And as always, c'est la vie.